Today we're here as part of AOLE 1 Part 2 with Sion Griffiths. He heads up the education team at Welsh Water. Sion, would you mind just telling us a bit of background about some about your teaching and how you got into Welsh Water?
Yes, of course, I'd be happy to. So my background is in teaching, as Nick mentioned. I was a classroom teacher for about 6 years. I worked in a Welsh medium primary school up in the Ystrad Mynach area. During my time teaching in the school, I taught a range of age groups. My first year of teaching, my NQT year, I had a mixed class of years 3, 4, 5 and 6. But then gradually over time, that changed. And then on the second year, I had a mixed class of year 4, 5 and 6, then 5 and 6, before then having the pure years 6 and then year 5. During my time in that school as well, I was numeracy coordinator, ICT coordinator, did a short stint as Key Stage 2 leader as well. But I also had the opportunity, very fortunate to have the opportunity to go out and do a secondment with Welsh Water. That secondment year was invaluable. It meant that for 12 months I was able to deliver Welsh Water's education programme, which consists of assemblies, workshops, outdoor lessons, and I did that then through both education centre visits and outreach visits in schools. Did that for a full year, returned to the school, and then various opportunities came my way to move elsewhere until finally about 2.5 years, potentially 3 years, time is passing so quickly, I returned to Welsh Water permanently. Initially as a peripatetic teacher, delivering the content, but I now lead the education team, whilst also simultaneously working on another project called the Water Resilient Communities Project, which essentially does what it says on the tin. It aims to build resilience within the communities in which we're working, using some of the existing services that we have within the business. So I've got that kind of a dual role within the business. And that's the introduction to myself.
Oh, brilliant. If you wouldn't mind sharing the slides.
So Nick, let me know what you want me to do. If you want me to share the presentation. Great, bear with me. That should come through in a moment now. Right, you should be able to see my slides at the moment. And I'm just going to give you a bit of an introduction into Welsh Water. There we go. If at any point there's any kind of technical hitches, just let me know and we'll work through it slowly. Okay. So as I mentioned, Welsh Water have a comprehensive education programme. So just to give you a little bit of background on that education programme, we have a measure of success within the business. So we have a business commitment to deliver education content to 70,000 pupils during each reporting year. That's no easy feat. And the reason that we have put so much emphasis on education is that, as you may be aware, we are a not-for-profit company. So it's important that we give back to communities, give back to schools, and through our education provision, what it means is that we can try to influence the behaviour of our future customers, which in turn will benefit both our customers and ourselves as a business. And I'll give you a few examples of that later on. Just to run through a few of these quick bullet points, we've got 3 discovery centres, Kilfynydd, which is located in Nelson, just by Pontypridd. That's our flagship site. We do have a centre in the Elan Valley, also up in Bryniau as well, where pupils are able to visit. Since our education strategy began in 2001, over 350,000 pupils have received an outreach session in this school. In fact, I think that number's probably higher by this point anyway. And over 235,000 pupils have visited our discovery centres. So we're talking about well over 500,000 children benefiting from the provision that we offer. In fact, going back about 2 years ago, we celebrated that 500,000 milestone with a celebratory event in the Senedd as well. Now, our education provision is delivered by our annually seconded teachers. 58 seconded teachers have joined us since the education strategy began in 2001. In fact, we're even higher than that now. We're up in the 60s. So every year, 3 seconded teachers join us. It's a really good professional development opportunities for those teachers. They work with us for a year, and then they return to their schools then, and they take with them a great deal of knowledge and expertise and a bit of water industry insight as well, to be able to offer a really good standard of education on their return to the school. Our delivery is very hands-on. They're all practical in nature, and all of the content that we deliver to schools is linked both to ourselves as a business. It's linked to our 2050 vision, but also to the national curriculum, and we're able to do that by tapping into the expertise of seconded teachers each year, making sure that we keep them nice and current. We also work with a partner site over in Hereford called the Hereford Waterworks Museum. As you may know, Welsh Water supply clean water to most of Wales, as well as Hereford, as well as, of course, take away that wastewater after it has been used as well. So that, in a nutshell, gives you a bit of insight into why we invest in education, and how successful we've been over the years as well. I'll move on to the next slide, but Nick, if you've got any questions, just feel free just to jump in.
Yeah, there's a bit of a delay, but if you carry on, this is brilliant. Thanks.
Not a problem. So just to give you a bit of insight, we've got, as I mentioned previously, we've got a huge range of sessions available at our discovery centres, ranging from, and just to give you a brief kind of flavour of them, a tour of the wastewater treatment works. So in this particular session, classrooms, as they visit the centre, will learn about the 3 Ps. So we're talking about poo, pee and paper, the only 3 things that should find their way into our sewer networks. So there's a bit of a behavioural change campaign going on there, as well as undertake a tour of the nearby wastewater treatment works in Cynnon. And this gives, as you can see on that image on the bottom left-hand side, it gives pupils an opportunity to see exactly what the process involved in cleaning wastewater actually entails. On our site at Kilfynydd as well, we have a Clean Water for All series of huts. This was inspired by a trip to Uganda over a decade ago now, where colleagues of ours were given an insight into the good work that is undertaken by WaterAid. So on the back of that, our education provision seeks to raise awareness of that. It's a really fun, engaging lesson, just to give you a bit of an insight into what it actually entails. We do 2 days 2 imaginary days of role play. If you could picture the scene, we've got on site 4 huts. So then, as the class begin the lesson with us, we distribute them into 4 groups, and they are instructed to carry out 2 days role play in the life of Gerard, who's a character that our colleagues met during their visit to Uganda many years ago. But in order to carry out the daily chores associated with each day, they first need to collect water. They're provided jerry cans, and we essentially go on a brief hike with them down to the river so that they can collect water so that they can carry out their chores. So we're talking about providing the livestock with water, providing crops with water, making sure that they have enough water to drink themselves before. And you'll know that we've got so many uses for water in our daily lives. They take the jerry cans down there, they carry the water back. They realise how tough it is to carry that water back up to the hut. It's quite a trek, and then they reach back up to the hut, and then they use that water to carry out their chores. They soon find that the day comes to an end very soon, before they've actually had an opportunity to complete all of their chores. That first day comes to an end, and then the second imaginary role play day begins, where they're led to believe that they have to go through that same process again. And as you can imagine, children are less than enthusiastic about having to trek back down to the river to collect more water to carry out those chores. But on the second day, we actually reveal a water pump within the village. And there's clearly a great deal of relief from pupils at that point, that they're actually able to access clean water within their village, which is a stark contrast to the situation that they faced the day before. So it gives them a little bit of insight into how valuable water aid are. And the challenges faced in some developing countries, some rural areas in developing countries.
I remember the activity really well. When I took my old class there, and it just, with the authentic learning experience, they just learnt so much more than they would just reading about it in a textbook.
That's absolutely right, and I think that's one of the mantras that we have in the education centre. All of our activities are practical and hands-on, and the approach that we take is, if these activities could be carried out in school, we shouldn't be doing it here in the centre. The centre is there to offer pupils the opportunity to do something that they wouldn't have the opportunity to do in that school environment. And our village, which is it's a replica or an attempt at a replica of the village of Ruan Giorgio and Tuma in Uganda. It's one of our favourite lessons, and it's one of our visitors' favourite lessons as well. There's a whole range of other lessons. Climate change being quite a popular one, and of course very important at the moment as well, very topical. And we make the links between climate change and the extreme patterns, the extreme weather patterns that we're experiencing, and then making the link through to some of our RainScape work as a company as well. We've got a pond on site. We've got a woodland area on site so that we can do a bit of habitat work. Water efficiency is another important one, trying to get that message across of why it's important to reduce water consumption. And I think we've covered a number of them. Of course, we've got access to the river on site as well, which allows us to look at some of the mini beasts using nets that we can catch in those rivers, and we can make the link then between pollution levels and the species that exist within the river by looking, for example, at the biotic index and stuff like that. So a number of on-site engaging lessons that people can undertake with us. So just to kind of the site is one aspect of our provision. As I mentioned previously, we also go out into communities, into schools, and deliver assemblies and workshops. This is a key part of our provision because this is where we really try to encourage behavioural change to a mass audience. So if you can imagine, we go out, we would deliver a assembly to 400 pupils initially, and then we'd stay in the school and do a series of workshops, a series of Key Stage 2 workshops afterwards. The focus is primarily on Key Stage 2, and there's a key reason for that. That 7 to 11-year-old age group is the age group, one where you get a good degree of engagement. They're old enough to understand some of the more complex messages that we're trying to share with them, but also they're young enough to be so excited by the workshops that at the end of the school day, they go back and tell their parents about their learning. And the knock-on effect of that, we kind of refer to it as pester power, is that the children themselves are instrumental in changing the water habits of the adults within their household when it comes to things such as Stop the Block, which focuses on blockages within our sewer networks, water efficiency, again, reducing water consumption, reservoir safety is another one as well, but also giving an insight into what Welsh Water do and the important role that Welsh Water play within the wider water cycle. And as you can imagine, it's worth stressing as well that there are very clear links to the national curriculum in all of our provision, and in all of the outreach that we deliver as well. There's that strong environmental and sustainability theme running through it as well. I would say that the education centres account for about 12,000 of our annual pupil participation numbers, and then our outreach programme accounts for the vast majority of them. As you can tell from the images, the focus is very much, even though we're visiting the schools, this isn't a chalk and talk exercise in any sense of the phrase. It's very much focused on practical, hands-on activities. It draws in a range of literacy and numeracy aspects as well, and encourages pupils to kind of collaborate and work together as well. And just by the images on that particular slide, I'm sure you'll be able to tell that it's a really successful program.
And that's really why we wanted to speak to you as well, because our students have to design some numeracy activities, some digital numeracy activities. Just the message we're trying to reinforce to them is just to make it in a cross-curricular, fun way. As you can see here, it's hands-on. It's not just working from textbooks. So, yeah, it's great to see that you're doing exactly what we're reinforcing.
So that's right, and it's I think the key thing about this is it brings in, and this is why it fits so well into the new curriculum. It encourages the pupils to use those numeracy and literacy skills, but it gives that real life industry context to everything that they're doing. So during these sessions, as they're doing their calculations, it almost doesn't feel as if they're doing numeracy, because the end goal is to actually, and if I'm referring to the example on the left-hand side, the end goal is to create a water network to supply water, which incidentally they get to test as well, and to do that for the lowest cost possible. And of course, they're competing against other groups within the classroom. So it really doesn't feel as if they're doing numeracy as they're doing that particular activity.
Yeah.
Really enjoyable one, and hugely popular with schools as well. I should mention, and I've just seen the reminder there on the screen, all of our provision, whether it's centre or outreach, it's all free for schools as well, which again makes it hugely popular.
Yeah.
Happy for me to move on to the next slide?
Yeah, that's great. Sorry there's a bit of a delay. We're waiting for each other, but yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. I should just mention as well, just to quickly recap, of course, over the last year, our approach has changed significantly because of current restrictions, and of course we're not doing any face-to-face delivery. But I will show you in a moment some of the digital approaches that we've taken over the last year to make sure that we're still offering a great deal of value for schools over the course of the last year. So, but before I go on into that, we've got a wealth of electronic resources available on our website. Each year, our seconded teachers are responsible for developing new resources and updating the existing resources. On the last count, I believe we had in the region of 106 downloadable electronic resources on the education area of our website. We have an additional 200 already drafted and in the pipeline, which will be gradually adding to the website over the course of the next 4 or 5 years. Naturally, they need to go through a branding and a translation process and a full QA before they go up there. But there's more to come as well.
That's brilliant. I'll put a link to that on the Moodle site for our students. This will be really helpful for you guys to have a look at these examples that might give you some ideas for your numeracy examples. Sorry, Sean.
No, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I agree. And looking at the footfall to our education pages, updating the content there is certainly worthwhile from our perspective, because we do get around 25,000 unique visitors dropping into the education section of our website each year. So it's good to know that they are utilised by teachers, parents, and children alike. Just to move on, what I've done so far is I've provided an overview of our traditional approach in a non-COVID year, so to speak. But of course, over the course of the last year, we've had to adopt a very different approach, and we've done that through a series of different channels or approaches. So the first thing that we've done is we've delivered virtual sessions. We've done that via Microsoft Teams directly into classrooms. I will show you a video in a moment of how those have gone down. They've been really well received within schools. Naturally, initially, technology adds that additional barrier, but I think more and more now, schools themselves are becoming confident in using new technology, and we're facing far less hiccups from a technological perspective. Just to offer a little bit of insight on that, last Tuesday, I believe, was British Science Week, British Science Day, or the full week, was British Science Week. And over the course of that week, we delivered live Microsoft Teams virtual lessons to over 700 primary school pupils.
Wow.
So it's a really valuable piece of our provision, which will probably play some sort of part in our long-term future education strategy as well. Over the course of this year as well, we've actually worked with another company to develop a 360-degree virtual education platform. And the idea behind this is initially, of course, we're not able to deliver face-to-face workshops, but this offers something extra for schools. But again, this will be a key part of our long-term education strategy as well. So if we've got schools located in rural areas, but they really want to benefit from Welsh Water education provision, well, we can direct them to our 360 platform, and we can do some Teams visits as well, if they're located in areas where it's not feasible for our team to travel to.
Sean, do you mind if I just chip in there as well? Just for the students, for their blogs, this could be a really good example for you guys. And we're looking at COVID-19 and how it's impacted on education, not just in schools. As you can see here, the delivery model would have been that seconded teachers would have gone in to deliver these in person. They're having to deliver these remotely. So again, this is an example you could use in your blogs if you wanted to do about COVID-19 and the impact on learning. This could be a really good example that you could use. I'll share the presentation, so if you want these figures on Moodle. Sorry, Sean, I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to mention that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, not a problem at all. So obviously the website becomes twice as important over the last year. It was very important during that period between the end of March and the end of July, when pupils first went home and were learning from the home. What we've since done is obviously coming back to January of this year, we realised that pupils were not due to be returning to schools. The ideal scenario for ourselves is that we'd still be able to deliver live sessions. However, we had to consider safeguarding and GDPR implications in all of that, and eventually we steered away from this initial idea that we have that we could deliver live sessions directly into pupils' homes for, as I mentioned, safeguarding and GDPR reasons. So what we did then was we actually had good conversations with a number of teachers within the profession, and kind of said, well, what helps you most during this home learning period? And the feedback that we got on that was, just kind of put together sessions that we can deliver on your behalf. And that's exactly what our seconded teachers did this year. We actually disseminated those packs. We promoted those packs to over 1,000 schools across Wales. It was apparent very quickly how well received they were, because over 200 schools, and actually this number has since increased again, 200 schools responded immediately to kind of give us a firm commitment that they would be delivering the sessions captured within our home learning pack to their pupils. As part of that process, as part of the download process, we asked them to give us an indication of the number of pupils that would be receiving that content. And based on those figures, we know that these packs have been delivered to over 20,000 pupils over the last few months. I do also have a video to show you with regards to that as well. We've worked over the last, we've got a good relationship with other education teams across the water industry, so we do a few collaborative approaches as well. There's another project that I haven't mentioned on this slide that's worth mentioning. And it's to develop a children's book as well. So that's something else that we're involved in at the moment, because we're developing, or we're investing heavily in the Rhymney and Bargoed area of South Wales at the moment, and we've got some good links there with the community area regeneration teams from the local authority. So we've got a co-produced project on the go to produce this children's book on the topic of on the topic of Stop the Block. And that brings into play a local author and illustrator, the parent network from that area, and Petra Publishing. So at the end of this, so we've got pupils from a local primary school writing that story at the moment with the support of an illustrator and an author. And in a few months' time, we'll have a complete published and printed set of books, which we'll be disseminating then within the project area communities. So that's a really nice addition to our program as well.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the overview essentially of what we've done, and I think on the next slide, this should now take you through to the video. Captured within this video, and you can see that's Lee, one of this year's seconded teachers, delivering a live assembly to a classroom. I think this was back in November of last year. The first half of the video focuses on that specific provision. The second half of the video gives a bit of an insight into our virtual 360-degree classroom as well. Now, I'm hoping it plays all right on your end. The sound is on. I'm just going to link through to the video, which should hopefully be appearing on your screen now. Here we go. There may be a few buffering issues. I'll try to play through the video. If for any reason you're not receiving this,
no, it looks okay so far.
I'll find a way of sending it through separately. Right, let's go.
It's all good. Wow, look great.
So that actually gives you a bit of an insight there, both into our site. So you can see where traditionally we would be delivering that face-to-face provision, but you can see how we've responded quickly, adapted to the current situation to try to offer schools as much provision and benefit as we possibly can.
Yeah, definitely. And this is, again, really good for our students to see how, as I mentioned, COVID-19's impacted on not just schools, but also education departments that link to schools as well. So this has been really interesting to see.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that. I do apologise about the dog in the background. The postman is delivering some postage.
Just, I was just going to say in there again, just for a lot of our students, there's so many of our graduates go on to different things. It's not just teaching. So I think, again, it's been brilliant today to see that, with this degree that they've got from primary education studies, they would be able to potentially work in large organisations who have education departments. So it's been brilliant as a bit of an insight to see an education department and what you guys do.
That's right, and actually, when I consider a number of the other organisations we work with, there are education teams all over the place. So yeah, the course clearly seems to offer valuable kind of skills and knowledge that can help to further careers in those areas as well. We're quite unique at Welsh Water in the sense that our secondment model means that we second qualified and current teachers. So essentially what happens is we pay the schools for their release for the course of the year, but there's no break in service from their perspective. They continue to be employed by the local authority. I think it's fair to say that when you consider the range of other organisations where education features heavily, that there's quite a wide range of opportunities available, and no doubt, education just as a sector developed individuals that have a whole range of transferable skills as well.
Yeah, and especially with technology as well. You've just highlighted the importance of technology skills as well. So hopefully our students, when they make these resources, they're getting that experience of creating remote resources, digital resources that probably are going to be here to stay now, especially past the pandemic as well.
Yeah, and I can't stress how valuable having those IT skills and knowledge have been over the course of the last year. We've been extremely fortunate in the seconded teachers that we have with us this year, that they're very adept in that area. And when you the videos that I've shown you, the assemblies that they put together, they have actually been responsible for filming and editing their own content.
Oh, brilliant.
Which is testament to their ability.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm just putting on the camera there. I'm really conscious of your time, so thanks very much, Sean. I'll share your details as well, if you don't mind, if any of our students have a question. But this has been a brilliant insight, as I said, to how the education department runs within Welsh Water. So a huge thanks.
Not a problem. Just on one quick one, Nick. I do actually have one more slide.
Oh, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Quite useful. Up to you entirely. But
no, go on. Sorry.
That's all right. No problem. So if I just return, I think it's the final slide. So this is in reference to our home learning pack. There's a link down the bottom here where your students can download that pack themselves.
Oh,
I'll
great.
give you a quick little insight into that in a moment. But what I'll do quickly is I'll just kind of show you the process that we went through in order to encourage schools to download the packs and to kind of get information really on how many pupils are using it. So we've got a brief video here, and it gives a bit of an insight into those packs as well. If it works for some luck.
Oh, that looks great. And I'll put all the links onto Moodle so the students have access. This could be offering some really good examples for our students. So.
Yeah, that's right. We've got our teachers this year developed a year 3 and 4 home learning pack. Sorry, a year 1 and 2 home learning pack, a year 3 and 4, and a year 5 and 6. And within each pack, all of the planning is already completed for teachers. There's a teacher pack that offers guidelines on how it could be delivered. Then there's also a pupil pack then that captures all of the resources and the pupil instructions as well. So there's a whole wealth of examples in there that may be of use.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, well, thanks again, Sean. Thanks so much for your time. I've already tried to end it already, but thank you very much, Sean. Brilliant.
Sounds good. I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon.